Mr. Costa for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, for this important subcommittee hearing. Clearly, it is timely, and we have a lot of challenges, and I think part of the challenge is to figure out how we deal with a strategy that involves not only anti-Semitism that has existed for centuries, but also the politics of hate, the politics of division that, as we know, have been successful. I mean, when President Putin, and it's, it's the contradictions and it's the way the play of words justifies his attack in Ukraine to denazify Ukraine. I mean, with a Jewish president of the country is hard to understand, except when you understand propaganda and when you understand how you manipulate and use people through the divisions of hatred, the divisions of insecurity. 2 weeks ago, I'm a part of the Transatlantic Legislators Dialogue, which is a group of members of the European Parliament and members of Congress, and we meet twice a year. One of our colleagues here on this committee is the chair, Congressman Moran. But when we signed the document concluding our meetings, we stated that there would be, to condemn the sharp rise of anti-Semitism following the October 7th attacks by Hamas, called on statements by the European Union to designate Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Hezbollah in their entirety as terrorist entities. We went on to do a number of other efforts. I want to try to, Ms. Rodan, when you discussed in your testimony on October 7th, since October 7th, the experience of politicians that have used terms like genocide and ethnic cleansing to describe Israel's military operations against Hamas in Gaza, how is the use of this terms problematic in this context? And can you offer further examples of anti-Semitism disguised as politically critical? Could you explain? Quickly, because I have a limited time.
Sure. I'll go quickly. There have been numerous, and in particular in Spain, governing ministers and politicians who have basically criminalized Israel. It's the demonization of Israel. It is the demonization of Zionism. And it feeds into the whole idea that the Zionist project, that Zionism in itself, that Jews are inherently evil.
No, and that's not new. It goes back to the Inquisition.
It goes back to the Inquisition, and it's
And
the
before.
essence. It is the essence of anti-Semitism. And so, of course, when you have at the highest level politicians, including governing ministers, who hold that kind of speech.
What countries should the United States attempt to place its attention with our foreign ministries to push their governments to do more to combat anti-Semitism? And I know this is a sensitive and delicate subject to name countries.
It is indeed sensitive. In this particular aspect of what I just mentioned, Spain seems important. Other than that, there are a few countries who have not yet adopted the national strategy of anti-Semitism, including, for example, a founding member which starts with B, that's Belgium. So there are a number of countries who have not been doing enough. Again, in particular, look at those. The European Commission has recommended for countries to establish national strategies and special envoys on anti-Semitism. There are a number of countries who have not done so.
One of the other problems that we have, I think we have, is that, in this country, and I think in lots of Europe, we don't teach history anymore, at least in my view. I mean, Wall Street Journal, I don't know how they did the poll, but they determined that about 75% of those supporting the Palestinian individuals, and I think it's horrific what's happening in Palestine and what Hamas is doing. But that aside, they did not know what the river to the sea meant. They didn't know which river and which sea. It just sounded like a good thing that everybody was saying. I mean, when you don't have an education level of what these things mean, you know, it plays on people's fears, it plays on people's hates, and the way the media constructs this whole effort, I think is really cause for us to figure out how we can come together. My time's expired, but this is, Mr. Chairman, an effort that we're going to have to continue. And while we can talk a lot about it, I think what's lacking is trying to come up with a coherent strategy that we can embrace in some fashion that's bipartisan and that really reflects not only our country but our allies in Europe, because we're in this together. I have expended the rest of my time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.